Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our guest today is Dr. Tianzhi Chen, Professor of Economics at National Taiwan University. Dr. Chen, we've been talking about Taiwan's economic prospects, and the local situation now seems to be still quite optimistic. But the thing is, there are concerns about the economic integration between Taiwan and China. In other words, Taiwan is now too dependent on the China market, especially some of the technologies seems to be now transferred to China, and that will make China competitive for Taiwan. How do you see this kind of dilemma Taiwan is facing?
Yeah, of course, you look at any indication of dependency, you will see Taiwan is very much dependent on China today. In terms of trade, I guess we export about 40% of our product to China. In terms of investment, we invest about half of our the moving capital on China. And our IT production, which is the core of our industry, now more than 80% is being produced in China. So, every indication that you look at it, you will see that Taiwan is too dependent on China. But this is probably inevitable, I think, because as our role in the international production network has always been a contract manufacturer. That we produce something for somebody else.
That's right.
We produce things for IBM, you produce things for HP and Apple and so on. And those companies are looking for ways to reduce the cost of production. And when you come to a certain point of technology, excellence improvement, then you can only reduce the cost of production by using cheaper labor. So therefore, you had to go to China. And of course, the Chinese government also offer a lot of incentives for you to move your production there. And they have very strategic planning about how to attract the Taiwanese high-tech industry. All these local government, they really have a good plan about what kind of industry they are looking forward to attract from Taiwan, and they just create the right kind of incentive to make that happen. So this is probably the reason why that we see ourselves as being so dependent on the Chinese market. But on the other hand, if we have not done this, then our IT industry probably is already diminished to a lesser extent. So that, for us, this is probably the only way that we can keep our position in the global production chain. Although the production now is done in China, but our power, our position in this global network will remain at the same level or may be even higher. So I tend to look at this as a positive thing rather than a negative thing. It's by keeping your position in the network, then you buy yourself an opportunity to move, to upgrade and do something else.
So you say that it's very hard to stop the trend that some of the production will be moved to China. So Taiwan has to keep up its innovation capacities and so on. But as we know, China is also investing a lot in the innovation part of the production. Do you think that Taiwan can continue to keep that kind of edge in terms of innovation and creativities?
Yes, I think we can do that, and I think we are already doing that. As the more and more manufacturing activity are moved to China, that you see the company themselves doing different things in order to complement. You do something to complement your manufacturing activity in China and to take advantage also of your production capacity. Because the advantage, the advantage, the edge, the bargaining power of Taiwanese companies today in the world is you own a very large production capacity, which nobody else has, right? For example, your iPhone want to be produced in a very quick way with reasonable cost, good quality, large volume. They have to come to Taiwanese companies. That's the only way. So in that sense that you secure yourself in a very good position that's not a very good position, but safe position, because you cannot be replaced.
That's right.
All right. Maybe you don't like that position because you've been paid too little,
That's
right?
right.
We all complain about the low profit margin.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been paid so low, but in a sense you are indispensable.
Yeah.
So you are there, right? You have to be recognized. They have come to you. So in that sense, that you now have the opportunity to innovate, right? And how do? You see the company now are doing a very simple philosophy of making usage of their production capacity, and that is I can make an innovation of some kind of component, product, new way of doing things or something, and then I just use this, manufacturing basis in China to create value out of this. So one good example would be we have a lot of IC design houses, and they could design some kind of chips, and that could build into important IT product. And although the IT product, manufacturing of IT product itself may not be that rewarding, but creating these chips could be very, very valuable.
Right.
So you see a lot of companies now are moving upward toward more innovative type of job and just to take advantage of the manufacturing base. So I think that's the real foundation of the Taiwanese.
Apparently, some companies have already moved from the OEM to ODM and so on. But how about branding? It seems to me that branding seems to be the most profitable thing, but it also costs a lot to make a successful brand. Is Taiwan companies good at this kind of branding itself?
Yeah, branding could be very profitable if you really build a good brand.
That's
right.
right.
It really depends on the value that you create out of your brand. And I believe that I agree with you that this is something we have to do. Because in the world production chain, if you don't have a brand, then you're always, number two man in the world. You couldn't take much initiative, and you don't have the ability to integrate resources, because you always play, this kind of subordinate role to multinational company, do something for some other people, taking orders for other people. So your creativity is kind of limited because you don't have the power to define the product.
That's right.
Right? You don't even have a chance to listen to your customer to understand what they need in order to make innovation. So if we do not do branding, the innovation activity is going to be limited to something which is related to manufacturing processing itself. How to make things better, right? How to make things in a lower cost way. That's the only kind of innovation we've been doing.
That's right.
And the value of those is very limited. As today that you read a newspaper and you see the iPhone was just out and the price is tremendous, and Apple is making 50% of profit margin, right? Everybody was envy of this. But how can Apple do this? Certainly it has the brand, it has the industrial design capability. But more importantly, Apple is putting many things together. They're putting many capability in the world together into a small gadget, right? In order to create our value. If you're not a brand company, you can't do this.
That's right.
You will not be able to do this. So Taiwan has to go this way. So many people will challenge us that our company's been too small. There's no comparison to Samsung. There's no comparison to Sony. But I don't think this is true. Whether the company will become big or small, it's determined by the market. It's not determined by Taiwan, right? Honghai now is very big, although it's still not as big as Samsung, but I guess it's big enough. If he wants to do a brand, there will no problem. I think what you probably see in the future is Taiwan is going to come with some relatively small brand, but very specialized. We are not going to have Samsung, which produce almost everything. But you're probably going to have something like Acer, which only do computer, right? So very specialized type. You have some very good company in Switzerland which only make watch, right? Could be a very good company, very profitable and very innovative. So what we really need is some companies who are willing to do this frontier technology research, to do research beyond processing technology, to create more value. And that will be sort of coinciding with Taiwan's competitive edge. That we always say that when China has risen, and they have so many people, big size of land, large market. So how can Taiwan compete, right? You have to look at what is the advantage of us. And apparently that one advantage I can identify is the cultural diversity of this country, right? It's diversity of culture and the free, of course, democratic society. So that's different idea, right? Different culture, different thoughts, and they could pop up. And this could be used as the engine for innovation. But this is not going to occur in the factory.
That's
right? It's going to be occur everywhere, and you have to allow that to happen, in order to really allow this very potentially innovative type of capability that based on different culture background, to come to fresh the muscle. And so you need a brand company. That's I think what.
And what's the role of the state, the government, in this process? Some people say that just leave us alone. Market is more important. But some people say that state and government is very important in helping our economy to be transformed. Now, what's your view? What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's always a role for the state. Although I think the role of the state is now very different from the past. From the past, the government will have to tell us what kind of industry we should get into. They have to build a science park for us, and to come up with the technology which we don't have, by creating I3 or transfer technology from foreign countries. So these are the age of manufacturing. What the government needs to do is to help us overcome these technological barriers and the lack of foresight. Now I guess it's more difficult to create some kind of platform, for this innovative capacity to explore. So I guess it is more difficult. But to say one thing, very that people can understand very well, that is, when we try to market our own brand, then you tell people that this is something very well made in Taiwan, right? And people will say, aha, is Taiwan a very good country? Is Taiwan a very creative country? Is this the country going to make really good product? Probably many people don't believe, right? That's the kind of liability I think our company now carry when they try to break into this new territory of business. So there's the role of the government. You have to overcome this negative image about Taiwan.
That's right.
Right? You create some kind of environment for this product to flourish. So the many areas. For example, some people start to realize that Taiwan has really good food, right? Variety of good food and a very dedicated, healthy, and variety. Whatever you name, and a good cost, right? How do we sell this to the world? Right? It's probably hard to replicate a restaurant, a really good restaurant in Taipei, and try to replicate it in Tokyo or New York itself, I think, is a very difficult thing. So the logic way to do is to bring people in.
That's
right? You want the best food in the world, then you come to Taiwan, right? Okay. Now, in order to do that, then there's a lot of work.
That's right.
For the government, right? How to attract, doing the campaign and publicize yourself and make people really enjoy their trip in Taiwan and so on. So there's tremendous role. I always complain that when you go to our airport, right, international airport, and you go down, if you are suppose you're a foreigner, you come to our airport and see the gate of Taiwan, what kind of image do you have?
Yeah.
You don't have much good things there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So if you want to sell your food, for example, you go to Singapore, you realize that this is a tourist country because there are all flowers there, right? So we got to do this. We got to do the same kind of thing. What kind of image that you want to portray yourself to the world? And that has to be in your gate, right? It has to be in the airport and also in other locations. So the governments, I think the governments has a very, very important role. But it just be different.
So branding the country as a whole is very important for our government. And another challenge that we may have to face or may be facing right now is the so-called regional integration. Because there are concerns about Taiwan being marginalized in the process of regional integration. And how can we cope with that? When we come back, we'll talk about Taiwan's role in this regional integration process.
Okay.
So stay with it. We'll be back in a few moments.